Good morning, my dear friends. There's a time each year when everyone waits for the holidays, but there's also a time when everyone returns from the holidays and feels lost. I'm exactly in that state, and I came back from vacation and I don't know what to do in the garden. And I decided that I'll walk around the garden and show you what looks great here right now, what you need to pay attention to, and which plants are doing really well right there in the middle of summer. If you haven't come back from vacation yet and you're watching this video while on vacation, then nothing is stopping you from clicking and subscribing to this channel. Write a comment about how your vacation is going. Are you already done, or is it still ahead of you? Also remember that I have other social media like Instagram, so I warmly encourage you to check it out. There are a lot of different videos there, shorter ones, where I talk about plants in various formats, and in a moment I'll tell you about this beauty. In the middle of summer, there's a time when I wait for this plant. It's not a hydrangea and it's not dahlias, like in most cases. I really wait for it, especially here in my garden, exactly for this Japanese anemone. Why? Because it actually grows in complete shade. Direct sunlight doesn't reach here. It works perfectly, and on top of that, it's a plant that came to me in a little plastic bag like this. A friend brought it to me because they were digging up some plants somewhere, and she remembered that this is a very beautiful plant, so she brought me a small rhizome. I planted it here and it's growing beautifully. Of course, I don't know what variety it is. You can recognize it or try to recognize it, but it works very well. Right here on this raised bed in the shade, this anemone is fantastic. Besides the fact that it blooms beautifully, what I love the most are the faded flower heads, when these beautiful little balls decorate the whole bed for me. On the other side, I have a Prince Henry Japanese anemone. It's smaller and more purple. There it is. Also in an area where there's more shade, but some sun gets through, and it doesn't look as good there. So they really like places like that. I'm waiting for your comments about how these anemones are doing for you. The second plant that has never let me down in the garden, no matter where it's planted, whether it's in the shade like here or in full sun, it doesn't matter to it at all. It also doesn't matter to it whether it's in clay soil where water stands, like here, or in richer, more humus soil where the ground is a bit drier. It always grows very well. Himalayan knotweed. Here I have a variety that grows up to 1 meter 20, but there are also ones that are 30, 40 or 50 centimeters tall. I have a light dark pink specimen here. There are also red and dark pink ones. It works very well. As you can see, it's spreading. It's a crazy kind of area, but it looks really great because when it starts blooming at the beginning of summer, it actually blooms until the first frost. Naturally, the first frosts quickly remove all its leaves. And in the spring, it starts growing again. Not very quickly, but also not too late. So these leaves appear, and that's the annual growth. It looks really good, and if you like bouquets that cost nothing, then it's a great plant for creating that kind of space in a bouquet. It works really well to add a touch of romance to the bouquet. If you have a lot of space in your garden and you want a plant to take over a large area and you want it to bloom in the summer and you want it to bloom for a long time. And if on top of that you want it to have color, pink, lilac, slightly purple, then this is a plant especially for you. Odetka, perennial. An ordinary but extraordinary perennial that spreads like crazy. It looks beautiful among many other plants, which has very stiff upright stems and fantastic inflorescences made up of many spikes growing from a single stem. It really looks very good, especially when accompanied by, for example, such Patagonian verbena. And this is also a plant that will actually grow anywhere. And the only thing you need to do is watch it and limit its growth in the flower bed, because it really can take over the flower bed in just 1 or 2 seasons. This year I decided to buy a variety that has variegated leaves. For now it's small, but those green and white leaves look fantastic on the Gooseneck Loosestrife. Yeah, I think that when it grows a bit, I'll show you what it looks like. Another plant. This is a plant that I'll tell you all about, but I won't say its name. And that's exactly the game I'd like to invite you to. What kind of plant is this? Beautiful, with tiny flowers on long stems. It has relatively small leaves that grow in a rosette. It sends out fantastic shoots that at first seem rather unremarkable. And later, as it develops, it has millions and millions of beautiful lilac purple flowers. Flowers that attract pollinators, and most importantly, flowers that don't smell very nice at all, quite the opposite. They smell a bit bad. You could even say it's an interesting, fantastic plant that isn't afraid of rain, isn't afraid of heat, and basically grows on its own without any care. If you know what kind of plant this is, I encourage you, write it in the comments. And if someone has been following me for a while, watched videos from previous years, I just want to remind you, maybe you remember this story. This is a plant that, just like the first one I talked about, I brought us 2 little leaves from a beach in Croatia, and I planted it here 5 years ago, and that's how it grew. Here are 2 specimens, and interestingly, this is quite a fascinating story, because these are 2 specimens that were picked from the same place and planted literally half a meter apart from each other. One is already blooming, and the other is just now developing shoots with flower buds. They're next to each other, but they bloom at different times. And because of that, I have this beautiful lilac purple cloud here for much longer. It doesn't bloom for much longer after that. It fades and becomes kind of grayish brown, but for those 3 or 4 weeks, it stays just like this. To this plant, actually, I bring you here every year because so many of you ask whenever I show the garden, whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, or here on YouTube. A lot of you ask what kind of plant this is, especially at the end of summer and when autumn begins, when it shows off its fantastic plumes. Seed heads. This is Clematis in the Kashka variety. Clematis, which grows, in my case, here on the fence. By the way, the fence fits in here perfectly. I didn't have it before, but for 2 seasons now, I've had this wooden fence. It looks really good, and this Clematis grows really well on it. The Clematis, which is actually cut down to the height of my knees every year, grows these beautiful shoots every year. This year a bit less because I reduced it since I wanted to diversify the plants on this fence a little. But coming back to this Clematis, it looks really good. It blooms yellow. I know it's not most of your favorite color, but these flowers are so subtle, so small, and actually they're only here for a short time. And then the wow effect is taken over by those faded flower heads, which on the fence actually appear on every part of this plant. In winter, they also look really good when there are no leaves left, just dry brown stems and those dried little tufts, very bright silvery gray. And here on this fence, they create a great accent. I recommend it, especially in places where you want to cover something, where you want something to grow over quickly, so it's not just a green element, but also to have flowers and inflorescences appear, because this Clematis really works very well. And if you don't weed the beds around it too thoroughly, new seedlings will definitely appear the following year, because through those plumes and seeds it spreads here, actually all over the garden. I hope you enjoyed the plants I showed you in my garden. These are the plants that amaze me the most at this moment. If you have any plants in your gardens that really amaze you, of course, don't hesitate to write in the comments which plants are impressing you the most right now. I deliberately didn't mention those two classic plants, or actually three that are around in the summer, because for sure I'll be talking about them many times in just a moment in the Wow Garden project, because we're about to go for the second time to the gardens that are taking part in this year's edition of the Wow Garden project. And by the way, of course, I encourage you, the link to the entire playlist from our first visits is up here and also in the description of this video. But I encourage you to look at these gardens in a completely different way, to really appreciate them, and also to write a comment to the owners of these gardens. And of course, I encourage you to think about whether, if you have your own garden, you would like to take part in the next edition of the Wow Garden project, which I warmly invite you to do, because of course, we'll keep going and continue showing beautiful gardens of wonderful people. That's all for today. You're welcome.